Welcome to a special edition of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. Boom and Bust is delighted to have another former Prime Minister as a guest on our program. Today, we welcome the 30th Prime Minister of Australia from 2018 to 2022, the Honourable Scott Morrison. Welcome to Boom and Bust, Prime Minister.
G'day, Tony. It's good to be joining you here from Sydney in Australia.
I was going to ask whether it was Sydney or Melbourne, so I'm happy to hear that you're in Sydney. That's terrific. We do have some serious topics to discuss, of course. It's only been a short time since you have been Prime Minister yourself. Are you surprised at all at the pace of change since you were Prime Minister when it comes to world economic and political security issues?
No, because that pace has been fairly constant now for some period of time. Pretty much, we live in a post-globalisation era now, and one that involves strategic competition, especially in our part of the world, in the Indo-Pacific. And so, the tectonic impacts of everything from COVID to the strategic competition, changes in trade arrangements, security issues, Ukraine, Israel. This all just has compounding sort of impacts on the economy and on our societies.
I am going to get to China, I promise you that. But of course, a lot of focus at the beginning of this year has been on Putin's invasion of Ukraine and the conflicts, plural, in the Middle East. How worried are you about the trajectory of these conflicts?
Of course, we're worried. It's why when I was Prime Minister, we moved so quickly to commit lethal aid to support Ukraine and working with allies and partners. And, I've got to particularly commend Boris Johnson as Prime Minister of the UK at the time, who really did lead, I think, very well, sort of the Western effort together with the United States and everyone else who became involved. And that effort must be maintained. Of course, Ukraine's a long way away from Australia, but the things that are at stake there, the axis of autocracy, as I called it when I was Prime Minister, ranging from Moscow through to Beijing, taking in Tehran and a lot in between, that presents a threat to all freedom-loving democracies around the world. And autocrats need to be challenged in this way, and they can't prevail. And so we're as committed there. And I would certainly hope that all those in Europe for whom this is their top-of-mind conflict would be equally concerned about what's happening in the Indo-Pacific and the Middle East.
Yeah, and of course, there's so many cross currents now, and we'll get into some of that too. But is there a general consensus in Australia about the need to engage versus Putin, for example?
Yes, I do. I think, and the support we've had has been bipartisan, and I'd like to see it stronger now. After a number of years, people's energies can wane, and it's important that we don't allow that to happen. And we need to, I would like to see Australia sort of getting back to where we were in that pecking order of countries that were really stepping up. And I think that's very important. There's no, doubts in the Australian population's mind about why that's important. The conflict in the Middle East is different again. This is a civilizations battle. I think really this is a very significant conflict, and one which is causing deep divisions, whether it's in Australia or other parts of the Western world. And when I was Prime Minister, we had a very strong position supporting Israel and standing with our allies and partners. I'm a bit disappointed that we've retreated a bit from that. We're still there and saying mostly the right things, but this is not a conflict where I think you can be double-minded.
No, but you are getting some dissent within the Australian public. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I would say no different to what you see in the UK
right.
or I'm sure Canada or the United States. When I was in the UK last year, I was with Boris and he invited me to join him on that first visit over to Israel so soon after the conflict. And we were the first two former leaders and sort of people of that level who had visited the kibbutzes, Kfar Aza, where we went, and many have followed, and I'm pleased they have, because that's a demonstration of solidarity with the people of Israel, the Israelis, and that's important. And it's important to the diaspora communities here in Australia, and I'm sure in Canada, and certainly in London, and broader UK and, of course, the US. They need to know that we are standing with them and against the anti-Semitism that we have seen
Right.
unleashed